They told her to stand in the center of the room. The lights were harsh, white, and unforgiving, bouncing off the concrete walls of the temporary holding facility near the airstrip. The place smelled of disinfectant, jet fuel, and long hours without sleep. Boots scraped the floor as men shifted their weight, some avoiding eye contact, others watching with rigid faces trained to show nothing. Her name, at least the one on her forged papers, was Emma Collins. She had been silent since they brought her in, and screaming. No vaguing, just steady breathing and eyes fixed straight ahead, like she had already accepted whatever came next. Procedure, one of the guards muttered, not quite looking at her. We need to be sure. They removed her gear first. Backpack, jacket, boots. Everything was done quickly, professionally, without cruelty in motion, but with a coldness that made it worse. When they ordered her to remove the rest, the room seemed to shrink. This was not done for desire. There was no lust in the air. It was control, suspicion, fear of the unknown. She complied, jaw clenched, hands steady. Somewhere outside, a helicopter lifted off, its roar briefly drowning out the silence inside the room. When it was over, when she stood exposed, not just physically, but in the deepest way a human can be, one of the men shifted uncomfortably and looked away. Another swallowed hard. A third stared at the floor. Then the SEAL team leader stepped forward. His name was Commander Jack Reynolds. Reynolds had seen combat on 4 continents. He had made calls that sent men into gunfire and brought others home in flag-draped silence. His face was carved with lines earned over decades, and his eyes missed very little. He was about to turn away when something caught his attention, a marked, a thin line of ink running along her spine, partially obscured, elegant and deliberate. He froze. Stop, Reynolds said quietly. The room went still. He stepped closer, careful, respectful now, his voice no longer sharp. He recognized that ink. Not the design exactly, but the placement, the precision, the way it aligned perfectly with the vertebrae. His breath slowed. That tattoo was not decoration to IT, was a signature. Years ago, deep inside a classified training program that officially did not exist, operatives were marked with a discrete identifier. No flags, no names, just a symbol and a code, placed where it could be concealed but never altered without extreme effort. Reynolds had seen it once before. Only once. Get her covered. He ordered that a jacket was placed around her shoulders immediately. The tone in the room changed in an instant, confusion rippling through the guards. Reynolds looked in her eyes for the first time. Who sent you? He asked. She finally spoke. You already know, she said. Her voice was calm. Controlled. American. The room seemed to exhale. Hours earlier, the capture had seemed routine, that a woman moving alone near a restricted zone. No clear ID, wrong answers to the wrong questions. In places like this, that was enough. Too much was at stake to take chances. She had not fought back. That alone had raised alarms. Most people panic when cornered by armed men. They run. They cry. They resist. Emma had done none of those things. Now Reynolds dismissed everyone but 2 trusted officers. He pulled a chair, sat across from her, and slid a bottle of water across the table. Drink, he said. She did. You shouldn't be here, Reynolds said quietly. Neither should you, she replied. A faint smile touched the corner of his mouth before disappearing. What's your real name? She hesitated, just long enough to measure him. Claire Monroe. That name hit harder than a punch. Reynolds leaned back, memories flooding in. Briefings in windowless rooms. Redacted files. Promises of plausible deniability. People trained so thoroughly they became ghosts. Claire Monroe had been listed as Kia 7 years ago. Dead in an operation gone wrong, or so everyone believed. They buried you, Reynolds said. They'd buried a file, she replied. Not a body. Silence stretched between them. Outside, the bass continued its rhythm. Radios crackled. Engines roared. Orders were shouted. Life moved on, unaware that something delicate and dangerous was unfolding in a small concrete room. Reynolds stood and turned to his men. No more mistakes, he said firmly. What happened in this room stays in this room. They nodded. Later, as night wrapped itself around the desert, Reynolds walked alone toward the operations center. His mind replayed the moment he saw the tattoo again and again. He knew what it meant. If Claire Monroe was here, alive, uncovered, then someone very powerful had lost control of the secret they were never supposed to lose. And that meant trouble. Not the kind that came with explosions and gunfire. The kind that came with silence, paperwork, and orders that didn't make sense until it was too late. Claire sat alone now, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the wall. She had survived captivity before, pain before, betrayal before. What shook her was not the exposure, not the cold, not even the humiliation. It was recognition. She had not expected anyone left alive to remember the mark. Reynolds returned an hour later with food and a folder. "Eat," he said again. She took the sandwich without comment. "They'll ask questions," he continued. "People above me. People I can't ignore." "I know," Claire said. "That's why I let myself get caught." He studied her. "You walked into a sealed perimeter on purpose?" "Yes. That's either brave or reckless." She met his gaze. "Depends who's listening." Reynolds opened the folder. Inside were satellite images, names blacked out, timestamps, movements that told a story of something building quietly. "You're chasing this?" he asked. "I'm trying to stop it." "From what?" She leaned forward slightly. "From happening again." Reynolds closed the folder. 7 years ago, a mission had failed because of bad intelligence and political pressure. Good people paid for it. Officially, lessons were learned. Unofficially, those lessons were ignored. Claire Monroe had been part of the cleanup. And apparently, she still was. "You know they won't forgive you for resurfacing," Reynolds said. "They already tried to erase me once," she replied. "This time, I'm not disappearing quietly." For the first time, Reynolds understood the weight she carried. Not just training or secrets, but the burden of knowing the truth and being unable to share it freely. "You realize," he said, "helping you could end my career." She shrugged slightly. "Helping me could save lives." Another silence. Finally, Reynolds stood. "I'll see what I can do," he said. "No promises." "That's more than I expected," she replied. As he turned to leave, she added, "Commander." He paused. "Thank you for seeing the tattoo." He nodded once and walked out. In the days that followed, whispers moved through the base. Files were requested. Calls were made. Orders were delayed. Somewhere, far from the desert, someone noticed a dormant name reappear on a secure system. Claire Monroe. Active. And someone else noticed something worse. Commander Jack Reynolds had access to file he was never supposed to open again. If you're watching this story on the channel, remember to subscribe to Generals and Truth Stories for more powerful, realistic military stories that reveal the human side behind classified operations. Because this was only the beginning. Claire had survived being stripped of everything in front of strangers. Now she was preparing to strip the truth from a system built on silence. And the cost of that would be far higher.